COVID-19 throwing sports for a loop there this week and elsewhere today. Let's get to your top headlines. Starting off with this Saturday's Alabama-LSU game. It's in jeopardy due to LSU dealing with a number of players now in quarantine for positive COVID-19 tests and contact tracing. LSU coach Ed Orgeron said multiple starters may not be available.
All right, more on this developing story that Saturday's matchup between LSU and Alabama appears to be in jeopardy as the Tigers have multiple players currently in quarantine after COVID testing. Ed Orgeron said multiple players, some of those who are starters, had positive tests. Others are in quarantine due to contact tracing. The next round of testing is tomorrow. They'll monitor this outbreak. Here's Coach O.
Well, it's going to be challenging. Obviously, with the guys that are out and the quarterbacks that we have, well, we may have to put someone else at quarterback just in case. So we have a plan in place. I'm not going to say what we're doing because it'll give away our game plan. And we're going to go ahead. Now, when they tell me, we're at a certain number or something like that, we can't play, I think that's up to the league and Scott, and I think that by Wednesday, that should be solidified. But for right now, we're playing Alabama, we're ready to go.
Well, it's not just that game that's in jeopardy. There is more COVID-19 related news around the SEC today. Saturday's game between Auburn and Mississippi State has been postponed. The Bulldogs don't have the minimum number of scholarship players available due to COVID issues. Texas A&M has paused football activities after multiple positive tests within the program. And Arkansas coach Sam Pittman says he has tested positive for COVID-19. SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey talked about today's developments last hour on the Paul Feinbaum Show on the SEC Network.
We were up to nearly 150 contests across our fall sports completed successfully. Announced our third disruption in football. And those are just the realities we've dealt with. I've talked to you about the hold your breath moments, generally pointing to Friday, but given our testing cycle on Sunday, on Tuesday, and on Thursday, those realities play out through the week. Today, they just happen to play out in a more public way than they might on a normally quiet, peaceful week.
Okay, let's welcome in the SEC Network's Paul Feinbaum now. Paul, what else stood out to you from your conversation with the commissioner?
Well, he clearly is concerned, Ryan, and I think if you follow any sport, for that matter, you have to be concerned with the exponential rise in COVID numbers, and it affects everyone in this country, if not the world. And I think this week it's showed up at the SEC. Other leagues have suffered, certainly the Big Ten being the most prominent in recent weeks, but the SEC has avoided these type of days. But today was pretty bad, and it could get worse, especially if LSU Alabama goes off the board.
Yeah, that's a big one that they do not want to see missed. Now, it's not just the SEC, as you mentioned. We've seen games postponed and canceled around the country. So how concerned are you about the state of the sport?
Ryan, you have to be. And I'm not making any kind of statement other than a reality statement that you have all these things converging at the worst possible moment. And, last week we had at least 10 games put off. That's the most we have seen. Now, again, we have two new leagues entering the conversation here in the Big Ten and the Pac-12, and both we had two from the Pac-12 and one from the Big Ten. But if the SEC loses 2 games this week, that's a big deal because you start getting into the situation, where do you make these games up? The Big Ten and the Pac-12 have no wiggle room. The SEC is running out of runway very quickly.
It's a very difficult situation. You've got cases rising all over the country, and you see how it's affecting college football. You can catch them weekdays, 3 p.m. on the SEC Network. Paul Feinbaum, thanks so much.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.